right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Digital Manufacturing Talk. My name is Tyler Fenhouse. I'm the marketing manager for Symphony AI Industrial. We've got a great informational talk lined up for you today called today's topic is Enhanced Continuous Work Efforts with Digital Workflows. As you may know, Symphony AI Industrial is a leader in industrial AI solutions in digital manufacturing, plant performance, optimization, and connected worker. Symphony AI Industrial is a Symphony AI vertical. There are several Symphony AI verticals. You can see them there on your screen. And we are one of the largest, if not the largest, enterprise AI companies with more than 1,600 customers and 3,000 employees. We are presenting on Teams, and we've got a large audience this morning. You are muted throughout the presentation, but we still want your questions. You can use the chat to input any questions you're going to have for our presenter today, Anderson Lemos, and he will answer them right here live at the end of the presentation. So make sure you're typing those there in the chat. Also, we'll have a handful of poll questions for you as well. So keep your eye out for those, and that'll kind of guide Anderson's presentation today. All right, you did not sign in to hear me talk all day, so I'm going to hand it off to Anderson, and we're going to get this started. So, Anderson, take it away.
Thank you, Tyler. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. We appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and kind of talk about some continuous improvement efforts. Very quickly, I'll give you a quick intro on myself. Obviously, my name's Anderson Lemos. I need to update this slide. I'm actually in manufacturing for about 15 years now. I'm getting old and I don't want to admit it. But I've been in manufacturing for everything from CNC machines and automation equipment. Really medical device and automotive and electronic assemblies have been my biggest focuses, but really focusing on any software that powers manufacturing. So you can think of MES systems, CMMS, and all the different acronyms that exist in manufacturing. And today we're going to be talking about Connected Worker, which is actually one of my passions and one of the fun parts or fun softwares that we get to interact with. And when I'm not talking about three-letter acronyms inside of manufacturing, I am watching Formula One. Lando Norris is my guy. My son is just getting old enough where he can start to appreciate it. So me and him like to sit down on Sunday mornings and watch the race whenever I can wake up early enough on a Sunday morning, right? So with that being said, Tyler mentioned a little bit about what Symphony AI does, but Symphony AI Industrial, really what we like to say is we're connecting people, processes, and assets. What that means is we have different products that span across those different divisions inside of manufacturing. Of course, we have the entire solution as well. What's interesting about Symphony's portfolio is that it can be a holistic solution, but because of its modern approach, it can also be containerized or composable, where you choose the things that you need. You don't need to boil the ocean all at once and then purchase an entire software package. So today we're going to focus on the bottom right there, which is people. Now, I'm going to hit you with this first poll, and then we can get started. Tyler, you want to take it from here?
All right, we do have a poll question right out the gate before we get started. Real simple, yes or no. Are you responsible for continuous improvement in your organization? So yes or no, go ahead and get those in, and I'll leave this open for about 10 seconds, and we will get this thing going. Looks like about half the room has responded, so go ahead and get those in. Leave it open for a second or two more. All right, so looks like what you'd expect for this kind of talk. Anderson, 80% yes and 20% no. Back to you.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So let's start off with, why is it that organizations even focus on continuous improvement, right? Maybe what is continuous improvement? We like to think of continuous improvement as, the way I like to define it very simply, is we're doing something to improve a part of our manufacturing process or anything in our lives, but really here focusing on manufacturing. We're doing small steps though, right? Generally, continuous improvement, if you want to be successful, you don't want it to be this massive disruption and revolutionary force inside of your operations. I personally have not had good experiences with that, trying to go that way. So we like to take it one step, do one thing that really improves one small task, and then build up a series of tasks from there. And before you know it, you'll have the results. And some of the results are what we see on the screen, right? Production efficiency, reducing waste, reducing unnecessary actions or procedures or things that people have to do. And at the end of the day, the goal here is to optimize production, right? You can do all of these things, and the thing you get back is optimized production. I had an interesting call with the customer yesterday. We were talking kind of high level of, hey, what does operational excellence look like for you guys, and how would you like to see this? Where would you like to see this go? Let's not talk about a specific software. Let's talk about, what do you guys want to do? And we talked, and I said, but what is it that you're trying to achieve, ultimately? And he looked at me and he kind of laughed. He said, hey, at the end of the day, we're just trying to make more money, right? And that's what all this. If you want to log off now, right? If that's one takeaway, that's figuring out how to make things that help us make more money, right? Make us more profitable, make our organizations more profitable. That's really what it boils down to me, what it is. Now, okay, great. We know that we need to take these small steps in order to achieve this improvements, and that's going to ultimately make us more profitable, more efficient, et cetera. But how can connected worker, how does that tie into this? So I'm going to show you a couple things throughout the presentation, but I'm going to highlight them here. Really, one of the first things is just tracking efficiency and gaining visibility. So traditionally, I've seen most factories, you could have dozens of assets or hundreds of assets, machines and pumps and CNC machines or SMT equipment, or whatever is in your factory. And those often have a lot of sensors on them. You could have vibration sensors. You could have PLC data coming off the floor. You could do a lot with it. But one thing that we see, that utilization of that data isn't always excellent across manufacturers, I think, because of our conservative nature. So there's always room for improvement there. But one area that has recently become more popular is connected worker, because we really don't have any data or very little data, and the data that we do have is not very traceable or auditable, right? On the workers, the humans that are actually making this stuff work. When I look at factories where people are filling out spreadsheets or pieces of paper to do things, there's some data collection, but there's so much more that could happen. There's so much more that we can gain from that knowledge of the human, out on the floor. So that's really tracking efficiency and gaining visibility into your production through a connected worker is one big thing we'll talk about today. The next will be leveraging digital transformation to reduce waste. So what do we mean by waste? It can be as simple as, hey, how many shops have you guys been in where there's paper travelers, and a traveler could have 10, 15, maybe 50 pieces of paper inside of it? When I was actually a CNC programmer, that's all we did, right? Was paper travelers. And sometimes the blueprints were 15 pages alone. And then dozens and dozens of other pages of quality inspections and route travelers printed from my MES, and all of that stuff is on paper. So even just getting rid of paper waste in our factories could really, leverage that, or this tool just for that. But of course, there's other things that, a lot of waste happens when you're not using a digital tool to do this. And we'll explore those a little bit as we go today. And then one of the big, this also ties into waste, but really it's improving first time fix. So what we've seen as connected worker is not only provide somebody with an easier tool to go follow a set of instructions, but what it actually does is close some of the gaps that exist. Maybe I've looked at this problem before, but I don't really remember how to fix it. This happened a long time ago. Or maybe I'm not the subject matter expert on how to fix this pump, right? I can have exact procedures on that digitally, and I can also use like remote assist. So If I run into an issue that I need to go fix and I don't know how to take this next step or which next step to take, I can pull up my remote assist. I can call a senior technician or somebody who's more experienced in this problem, this scenario, or this asset. And how can I use them to show me to fix this problem? Right. It reduces waste. It improves efficiency. It does all of the above. But really, it's granular. It's that fixing. It's improving that first time fix rate where you're not having to spin your wheels in order to get a problem fixed. And again, what does all this do for us? It optimizes production, right? Helps us make more money, helps the company be more profitable. All right, with that, I'm going to jump over to Tyler. We'll do our second poll. We only have one more of these after this towards the end, and then we can get into some of the more details of the connected worker.
All right, second poll of the day. Again, simple yes or no. Have you ever used a connected worker solution? So go ahead and get those votes in. We'll leave this open for 10 more seconds. But go ahead and vote. It looks like about half the room is voted. So get those votes in if you have not yet. Couple more seconds. Just simple radio button, click to vote, and we will continue on. All right, so Anderson, it's looking like 33% yes, they have used a connected worker solution previously, and 65% no. So back to you.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you, Tyler. All right. So we talk about connected worker. Let's explore a little bit about what that means. At the end of the day, what we consider connected worker is a mobile tool for somebody to use to follow instructions, inspections, procedures, whatever it is that they're doing. You see on the left of the screen here, it's probably something similar. If you've been in manufacturing for a while, something you're used to. I know on the top left, we have some old paper work instructions that have probably been laminated and they're super dusty. I don't know about you, but every time I see that, when I was on the manufacturing floor, some guy or girl would have an old set of this in their toolbox somewhere, and they would accidentally pull it out. It's an older vision exactly on the same day that the auditor's walking by, right? And somebody gets pinged for having an older vision out on the shop floor. Then we modernize a little bit where we go into PDFs and kind of documents that you can use, a little more modern, a little more interactive, but it still doesn't give us the full traceability of what we consider connected worker, right? And of course, we've talked about remote assist, but you see the guy there on the phone trying to reach somebody. Maybe they're at the other side of the factory. Maybe they don't have their phone on them, whatever the scenario is. But essentially, we're taking all of these things, all of these either ancient or slightly more modern approaches, and we're modernizing it and putting it on a phone. Now, it can be a tablet, it can be smart glasses. We're completely device agnostic. We'll cover that in the next slide. But what we're doing is we're providing an operator an easier way to do it. Now, you guys are sitting in this presentation. I wonder how many of you have checked your phone in the last minute or two, right? Probably the majority of you. So having a phone in our hand is natural. It's become something we're so accustomed to. So why not give the operator take that natural thing that we've built, that natural occurrence, and why don't we use that for our benefit? Use it to work. Instead of just using a phone to send a text message, why don't, while you're at work with another colleague, why don't we use it to track some data on, hey, Anderson sent a message out to this guy because there was a problem. Let's figure out what that problem was and send a work instruction along with it to get that fixed, right? Let's use that more. For those of you in the room who are responsible for hiring, I guarantee you that, hey, if you hired somebody, who's fresh out of college and they came in to work for your company, and they saw something like what you see on the top left of this picture here, and that's what they were giving, that's the technology they were giving, I guarantee you they're not going to stick around for very long, right? Everybody expects technology today. Everybody wants technology. So why don't we provide solutions for that? That's kind of what we consider, connected worker. Now, we do that through two main portions. We have the operator view, like you see on the right. That's where you're using your phones, your smart glasses, etc. And we have an administrator view on the left. I'm going to jump over and kind of just show you a quick glimpse of what the software could look like, so you get an idea of how it operates. And let me pull up the software here. So, this would be like the UI for a user. Now, if I'm a user, these are the things that I'm allowed to do. I have a to-do list. We can, calendar planned. We can integrate with existing systems and put stuff on the calendar, put it on your to-do list. And I also have an unfinished task. Now, I really like the unfinished task because what you'll notice here is that these are things that I've started, but I haven't finished for some reason. If you look at, for example, I can look at an old one that I've done. When I click into it, what gets interesting is that it takes me exactly to where I left off. Now, this is a demo environment, so we have a ton of these open, right? But I have no idea where I left off on this. I might have started this 2 weeks ago. I don't know did I do step one? Did I do step two? Sometimes that can get lost in translation, right? You can have some gaps in your manufacturing process because of that. So using technology solves those simple problems like that. We talk about continuous improvement. And this is how you do that, right? You might have these little gaps that happen when somebody's using an Excel spreadsheet, and you didn't even know it. But this is how you solve that. Now you see, I've actually completed the first 4 steps. I don't remember that at all, and now I know. Hey, I'm actually on step 5. Great. I just need to set the pressure. I've done everything else, so I can come in here and say, okay, I've set the pressure to, let's say 15 bars, right? I can look at some graphical data of if I had some inputs here, say, hey, on average, this is what it looks like. That's good. That's bad. And I can ask for more lifting pressure, if you will, like you see here, and then I can enter that. I can do multiple things, like it can ask me questions about yes or no. Keep in mind, it's completely configurable. So whatever I want to show the person, for example, if I want to give them a picture or ask them for a spec, I can tell them to renew things. I can ask them to take an image, for example. So on the user side of things, again, this is where the little details that we've built into the system is where it really helps you with continuous improvement. Now, I'm going to jump back to our presentation. So now that we've seen a little bit of what the user side looks like, and I'll come back later and we'll talk a little bit about the admin side as well, which is where some of the workflow gets managed and things like that. But to understand the platform, again, we have the admin side where we create and manage workflows. We have the operator side where we're actually doing the thing that we're talking about, inspection instructions, quality checks. We do 5S audits, we do Gemba walks. So a lot of our customers are using us for that. So you're talking about continuous improvement. Okay, now I want to track. I know we have to do this 5S walk once a month or whatever the frequency is, but I want to track what the results were of that 5S walk. What's coming from that? We're taking this hour or 2 every month to go do this with the team, but what am I gaining from that, right? We do that through reporting and analytics. So this is where, to me, the real value is. All the stuff that we have, it lays the foundation for a connected worker solution. And that's great. It's obviously very important, but the value really comes in, what am I going to do with this data, right? Data equals cost in my mind. There's a cost in acquiring that data. How do I take that data and translate it into valuable information? We do that through reporting and analytics. And that's also what drives this continuous improvement conversation, right? We take that data, we translate it into something that you can understand, aka information, and then we can drive, the data-driven decision making conversation or topic has become a buzzword, and it's kind of overused, but it fits the bill here, right? This is what we're doing. We're giving you data to understand how the systems or your operations are performing. And of course, integrations at the bottom, existing systems. If you have a manufacturing or execution system, an ERP or a maintenance system, a library, a document management, all of that stuff, we're completely open to integrations. So with that, these workflows, we're talking about simple step-by-step guidance, easy. Like I showed you, we can give you pictures. We can give you, images, videos, PDFs, anything you want. It is device agnostic, so you can go, talking about user adoption. I don't want to have to force a user to use Android because they like iPhone, or vice versa. Just use what you like or what the company is comfortable with, IT is comfortable with, that this is what you're going to get, and our software just goes on it, right? Conditional workflows, that's an interesting one, because when you're using spreadsheets, when you're using pieces of paper, then you can't really adapt dynamically or conditionally to the environment around you. For example, I need you to go check the oil on machine A. Okay, I'm going to go do that. When I get there, the oil dipstick is broken, or the oil filter is leaking. What can I do to this piece of paper to tell it this? You can't, right? You can't account for that unless it's your piece of paper or your spreadsheet accounts for every single scenario in your factory, that's going to be one long piece of paper. So we do that through the dynamic and conditional workflows. So as you run into these problems, we create routes or different workflows that you can go down conditionally in branches of the tree, and say, okay, when you run into this problem, okay, maybe there's no fix for this, but at the very least, let's report it to a manager. Let's send an action to a maintenance person or a supervisor or somebody who can fix this problem, right? That's how we handle that. Again, that's part of continuous improvement, right? As you run into these unknowns, how do we account for that? If you don't, it's a gap that you have in your manufacturing floor. And I think everybody in the room, we all know that nothing goes to plan in manufacturing, right? You kind of roll with it, figure out how can we get to the next thing? How can we just get this done, etc. And we already talked about integration. So some of the questions that come out are like, okay, this is great, but where does this stuff fit, right? So connected worker can be anywhere inside of your factory. We're talking quality, reliability, productivity. You see a couple scenarios here of where it fits for you, and you can make some parallels there. But in all of these scenarios, we use work instructions or some kind of a process, right? When you're doing a repair, there's a process you're following. When you're doing a line changeover, there's a very strict process you're following, especially in heavily regulated industries. Maybe pharmaceutical or food and bev, right? Those areas are great for you to have a connected worker solution, so that you can track that and make those improvements over time. Say, hey, every time we do the line changeover, I've noticed that operator B has better results than operator D. Let's figure out what they're doing differently. Let's look at the data, and that's how you continuously improve via a connected worker system in these scenarios. The big thing is exactly what we've been talking about, right? 100% traceability. When I use a connected worker solution, I know everything here: who did what, when, where, why, how, who signed off on it, did they send it to a manager for approval, did they not? I keep track of all that. And you can do something as simple as put it in a PDF and store it. Now, that it's a good tool to use it that way. You can certainly build reports. We have customers that are using this for, like, for example, warranty reports. They're going out and fixing one of their own assets out in the field, and then they send a report to the end user or the end customer to say, hey, we fixed your asset, here's the data. And this can be fully automated, right? Here's the report that we're sending you. So it's one way to use it. It's pre-built. You can build custom reports within the tool, but the big value is actually inside of this, taking this data and pushing it into a analytical tool, so a BI tool, a business intelligence tool. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump over back to the software, and we can kind of walk through this scenario together, so it's not just a static presentation. But if we look at, this is our administrator portal. This is where we're looking at procedures. We're managing. There's a ton in here, right? I can set notifications. I can place users into user groups, or for scalability purposes, I can set a schedule. So I can put things on a calendar and say, go do this. I can integrate with existing calendars, pull the data into my calendar. And so your connected worker essentially already has this stuff in their to-do list, or in their, in their environment, to say, go do this. I can store pictures and data and video. I can look at statistics, so I can start actually pulling up graphs. But If we look at, for example, a history view of something that's been done, so I can say, hey, I want to look at everything that's been done. And of course, I can filter by procedure or time or profile. There's a million ways to do it, right? The buttons are there. We're going to talk more about the value today, but if I look at, for example, a procedure that's been completed, I can actually look at everything that's been done here. So I can look at where it's been done. I can look at what time it was started and finished, how long it took, the person that did it, where they were, what their inputs were. So I can pull up all this data, and all they had to do was what we saw that we did on the user side, is just follow through and click the buttons, right? And again, I can download this into a PDF report, a couple different things I can do there. But, the real value comes from this right here. A Power BI dashboard, a Tableau dashboard. Symphony has a great KPI tool that we call KPI 360. It's both predictive and prescriptive for analytics. So it's AI enabled. It's not just a static dashboard or a dumb dashboard, if you want to call it that. It's actually making decisions. So like you see here, you can look and say, hey, 57% of my operations are done. That's great. We have about 35% that are ongoing, but man, we have quite a few that are suspended. 6% of our operations are suspended. Maybe we need to drill into that and figure out why. Is it a quality problem or what's going on there, right? Using this data, everything you see here, it's just plugged into a Power BI based on the execution data of my operators, my maintenance people, whoever my personnel is out on the floor doing an activity. So I'm not pulling this data from PLCs and all these different disparate data sources. This is just all coming from my connected workforce. So we're pulling this data in, and I can look at it a number of different ways. Maybe I want to look at how long somebody's taking. So if you wanted to start doing time studies, right? Hey, it seems like certain people are taking longer to do something. Team 4 here is doing this beginning task, but maybe they're doing it too fast. Maybe operator CFW who's working on this stuff is taking too long. You see he's got some long times here. So you can start understanding how to contextualize the data, right? We can look at input values, for example. So you'll see here, whatever this input I'm tracking in, maybe I'm tracking temperature, maybe I'm tracking how many parts we used last week, a machine inspection, a routine round, whatever it is. But you start seeing that, hey, my value here is starting to creep up pretty high compared to, Q3 or in August. Maybe something's starting to go wrong with this machine. So I can start understanding that. You can start plugging this data back into an asset performance management system or an MES. So there's, again, just by using the software, we're collecting all of this data from which we can turn it into information, and from which you can start making those step-by-step improvements in your process. But really, in order to do that, you want to set the foundation of, let's collect this data, let's understand what's even going on, let's gain some visibility into our process, right? So that's why I kind of wanted to flash the software up there and kind of show you, what that would look like. So let's jump back to our presentation. All right. So we talked a little bit about, what the Power BI dashboard could look like. And then let's hit him, Tyler, with the last poll question of the day. I promise I won't bug you anymore on this, and I'm going to grab a drink of water.
All right. Fantastic, Anderson. Go ahead and take a break. You deserve it. Last question, folks. Are you considering Connected Worker as part of your continuous improvement strategy? Again, a simple yes, no, or unsure at this point, and you might need some more information, which in that case, Anderson or someone from his team will definitely reach out to you directly. So go ahead and get those votes in, and then I think we're going to shortly wrap after this. So it looks like about half the room is voted. We appreciate it. I'm going to leave it open for a couple more seconds so you can get those in, and we will wrap up shop here and get to your questions. So after you vote, if you have any questions for Anderson, make sure you're typing them in right now, and we will review those very shortly. Okay, let's take a look. So it looks like 60% yes, they are considering Anderson, 20% no, and 20% unsure. And again, to those unsure individuals, we will definitely have Anderson reach out. So Anderson, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Tyler. And thank you everyone for participating in those polls. It really helps us just to understand where everybody's at and kind of talk about, where we're going. I think this is a good segue into talking about some of the challenges. So we've talked about, what are the benefits, how we can use a connected worker solution to solve some of those issues, and what the benefits are from that, and how we can leverage some solutions to do this. But I always like to talk a little bit about common challenges we see. So everybody here, if you've tried implementing something like this or heard of somebody, you've surely heard that there's some challenges that we've seen when we encounter this. Now, one of my biggest ones, my background is I started in manufacturing when I was about 18. I did not know manufacturing even existed. I guess when I was a kid, I never thought about the way that things were made. I just knew that I had things. I didn't think somebody made it. I always wanted to be a police officer growing up, and I started going to school actually for computer programming because, why not? I'm 18. Who knows what I want to do when I'm in school? And I started doing computer stuff, and I went to go get a part-time job on the weekend at a local machine shop manufacturing place, and quickly found out that it's very impressive. There's these big machines that move around, and I was like, man, this is actually pretty cool. And there's a ton of software in it. I was like, wow, I never imagined that I'd walk into a factory and there'd be software running things, right? That was a novel idea for me at 18. And very quickly I learned that, hey, this is actually a great career path. There's not a lot of people doing this. There's not a lot of people my age doing this, so I'll be unique in some regard. And I was like, and it's actually really fun, right? There's a ton of software here, but one problem that I always run into is what you see on the screen. When you're the 18, 19, 20-year-old inside of a manufacturing floor, you're the kid, right? And you're the guy who wants this software and this technology, and the what we call the old timers, right? They're kind of pushing back on you, like, hey, we do it this way because we've always done it this way. So that's one of the big challenges we see even till today, right? Adopting to that. It's becoming more and more evident, though, that we need to get away from this mentality, from skilled labor. I mean, every customer I talk to today, it's skill gaps, right? I have projects that are on hold with customers because they can't get anybody to go execute this project. They're like, hey, this. We think this is a great idea. There's a great ROI here. I just don't have any resource, whether it's IT resources or manufacturing resources. I just don't have anybody that can push this forward. Let me go try to find someone. And they have a hard time. So the way we do, get away from this, we've always done it this way. We have to attract new talent. And again, new talent is technology, right? Kids are just used to having a phone. And I call them kids now. It's the tides have turned. But how do we get them attracted into technology, into manufacturing, is through technology. The same way I was 15 years ago, and we had 2D CAD or 2D CAM world. And so we have to make sure that we stay ahead of this challenge by keeping the younger generation engaged through technology. Another one that I always see, it's a funny meme here, right? The guys are using a square wheel, and guys like, hey, I have a much better idea. We can put round wheels on this thing, and we'll get it moving much faster. Continuous improvement right here in one image. And the answer is, hey, no thanks, we're too busy. I love that you guys joined a webinar like this, because it shows that you're not in this bucket. You're probably like, hey, I can take 15, 20 or 30 minutes to learn a little bit something to get better. I'm the same way. I join a bunch of webinars and I try to learn a little bit here and there. Some of the common challenges we see are this, right? Hey, we're too busy. We have too many problems on our plate. Let's not waste time trying to solve something because I just need to get production out. And hey, that's a reality. It happens. It's how the world works. But man, can we find something small? Again, continuous improvement for me is finding those small tasks and improving that to get a bigger result, right? It's a combination of small things that equal a bigger result in the end. So we need to make sure that we're staying away from this. And I think that one way to get away from that we're too busy argument is to do the small tasks. So when we're talking about connected worker, for example, maybe you don't need to bring it across your entire 50 factories, right? Let's start in one department, small, get them up to speed, show the results, get the learn the way the operation works, what helped, what didn't. Let's gather some data and then move on to the next thing. And those small incremental wins is how we get over this one. And the last one I'll show is user adoption. So you noticed in our software that it was very simple. You noticed that it was very clean. The reason for that is user adoption. We have very complex screens. We have very simple screens, and what we find is that the simple stuff is what gets people excited. That's the stuff that they use. So I have a bunch of buttons all over the place that doesn't focus. That doesn't get you to focus on it. It doesn't help. Can I have a ton of features and all these cool latest and great? Yes, but it doesn't help move your operation forward, right? So we do that through some of those contributors that we do is the user experience, UX, right, in the software world. So keeping it clean, keeping it simple, not having a ton of useless information on the screen. We focus the operator, so it is a change management or thought leadership style thing where we did this study where we have I need you to tie a knot. So we give somebody a piece of rope, and we're like, okay, put the right side over the left side. Oh, they do that, but maybe they're 90 degrees out. We didn't explain to them that, hey, it's got to be left to right, not front to back, right? So if we start giving you this information, you're going to interpret it one way. But what we find is when we give you a picture with text, say, hey, you should do this. Make sure the connections are in bad shape, like you see here on the screen. And here's the area you should be focusing on. And here's a good example. Here's a bad example. It really focuses operators, and that is in and of itself a continuous improvement effort. I'm focusing my operator to do this exact thing and giving them details on how to do it. Of course, we talked about device agnostic, but hey, I don't know about you guys, but if I have the Android versus iPhone argument at my dinner table, I can pretty much ruin dinner between my parents and I. So we just let anybody use their device, smart glasses, phones, tablets, etc. Today you saw the demo is actually on my Windows PC, my Windows laptop. And of course, we talked a little bit about simple visual step-by-step guidance. And then the final one I'll leave you guys with is identifying champions. This is the way that we really succeed. This is the best way to do it, is identifying inside of your factory, inside of your manufacturing house, wherever it is, inside of your office, who would push this idea internally, and they're credible and they're going to champion this effort. Maybe it's you who joined this webinar. It likely is, right? How do we leverage that enthusiasm, that passion, to actually help improve our organization? Again, continuous improvement, right? So I think that's pretty much it. Yep, that's the end of my presentation. I want to thank everybody for their time today. Again, there's my contact info. Feel free to reach out. There's a scan card there if you want to connect directly through our website. We can schedule some time to chat or a demo. And I'll open it up to some Q&A. I think there's some questions I saw coming in. So Tyler, do you want to take over from here?
All right. Yes, I will take over briefly before we get to Q&A. I'm gonna steal the screen for a second. We did have some people directly message me for a recording of this presentation, and just to anybody who's interested, I will have this shortly up after we close up shop here. I will have YouTube links with this presentation, so no worries. Definitely have someone from Anderson's team reach out to you. I'm going to steal the screen while we let more people get those questions in. You just sat in on one of our weekly webinars labeled Digital Manufacturing Talks. We've been doing these for a couple years now, and we usually do them every Thursday, same time. And if you want to see what we've got coming down the pipeline, we've surely got something for you. What you want to do is go to symphonyai.com, go to solutions, go to manufacturing, and then once you're on the industrial page, if this would load, apologies, we just got this new site up. Well, anyways, you want to go to manufacturing and then go to webinars, and you'll be able to see everything that's coming down the pipeline. So with that being said, I will start off with a couple more. Anderson, I did have a couple come in directly. So I'll just start it off and then we can go to the chat. How easy is it to set up a KPI dashboard like the one you demoed today?
Great question. So it's actually very easy. What we do, it's on the application side of things. We actually have very specific data keys, what we call them. So anytime somebody enters an input, we have a nomenclature that we can tailor to you. It's a no code setup, so you don't have to write any code or script anything. You just simply type in what you want that data value to be. So for example, if I'm checking the temperature gauge on machine number 3, I just write in, temp gauge machine number 3, and then that reports out to my database. The database that is we provide, of course, SQL database. It is fully contextualized, all the execution data in there, and you just simply tell, you would just query the database in a way so that it would show up on your KPI dashboard. It is something we offer as well to set up when you implement the software. So we'll definitely work with you on getting that set up. We've done it, hundreds of times. It's something we're really good at, and obviously we know pretty intimately. So yeah, no big uplift there. Pretty simple and straightforward once you get the foundational connected worker solution in place.
All right. Okay, I've got another one here. What manufacturing industry most benefits from connected worker?
Great question. So my answer would be any industry that is heavily regulated. So you can think of pharmaceuticals, a big example. One of our biggest customer bases in pharmaceuticals. Food and bev, for example, making sure that there's no salmonella, listeria outbreaks, making sure that quality, no pathogen monitoring is good. Quality is high, and you want full traceability of, I want to look back and see what happened. Medical device, for example, all of those are very top of mind industries for us, where we have a big footprint in, because of that traceability and audit trail that they really need to have. We can even talk about GXP compliance, where Precedix is, and making sure that signatures are CFR compliant, and all of those things. So any industry where there's a lot of regulation is a big one for us: food and bev, pharmaceutical, medical device, etc. But anywhere really inside of the other industries, anywhere where you need a solution that's going to give you all the data back. So for example, if somebody's making 1 million widgets a day, maybe they don't need a connected worker solution. They just keep clicking the green button. Unless you want them to upload specific data every time, then that might not make sense. But for example, the quality inspector on that line, maybe you want him or her to have provide data to you about their inspection results. Yes, I click yes, this is actually a bad part. No, this is a good part. Here's why. And then you can start making decisions from those inputs over time. Yeah, that's it.
All right, awesome. Very in-depth answer. Okay, good deal. Another question here, Anderson. How is this more accurate than logging execution data in a spreadsheet and creating a KPI in that spreadsheet?
That's a great question. So I would say yes, you can input data into a spreadsheet, right? All right, I want you to go tell me how many pounds of sugar we made today, or whatever the manufacturing process is. How many pills were in this jar for production? There were 1,000 pills. You can input 1,000 pills, and yes, you're going to have that data. It is going to be in your spreadsheet. You can push it out to a KPI or a macro inside of Excel. But you won't have any backup data to that information. Maybe it wasn't 1,000, maybe it was 100. So there's no validation there, and you won't know who input it, how long it took them to do it, where they were when they did it, how did you input the data on this machine. If you were GPS coordinate shows you were in the lunchroom, right? So you can make all of that information is missing when you just use an Excel spreadsheet. When you use an Excel spreadsheet, you're just having that one input that you're asking. We're tracking everything else around it and providing everything at the same time. And the beauty of it is that it's automated. So you're not having to go open a spreadsheet that's in a SharePoint, that maybe you have access to, maybe you don't. Your system administrator needs to give you access, and then now I can input this number. By using Connected Worker, you're taking all of that and you're just automating it and combining it with so much rich data that it's much more contextual to what you're actually doing versus a single number input or multiple numbers input into a spreadsheet into a KPI. That's a good question.
Awesome. All right. We did have a couple individuals ask for a PDF version of this, which I believe Anderson can provide me with, and I will definitely get that to those individuals. But looking at the chat, I think we are good to go, and we are a quarter to the hour, which is all we allotted for today. So, Anderson, wonderful. This was very informational. You know, a lot of great takeaways. I know this is, these are time consuming to put together. So appreciate that. Thank you, Anderson, for hosting today. And to everyone else, we appreciate you showing up as well and sticking it out to the end. So thank you to those individuals. If you have any more questions for Anderson, please reach out. His information is right there on the screen, or you can even just pull up your smartphone and scan it in Connected Worker fashion, right? But we hope to see everybody at another digital manufacturing talk very soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.